Well, the Adventures of Rickety Bill was a really enjoyable project with Jeff Foster. A lot of people ask me about what do you mean by Rickety Bill? Well, I started out with a senior, then I became an elder, then an ancient, and then a fossil, and then rickety. I thought that was a pretty good combination. Okay, the project itself, we started out with a lot of nice photographs, but we didn't really have enough to cover everything. So we had to use stock photographs. And this kind of left out a lot of the grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Didn't have really good photographs for them. And Lordy day, I have 22 grandchildren and 15 great-grandchildren. And that's pretty good for Rickety Bill, but, you know, they couldn't get their picture in there. I'm sorry. What can I say? The limited focus was also the fact that a lot of my friends had passed away. I've lost over 50 friends in the last 10 years. And this has been kind of tough, and as you get older, that transition, that graduation seems to happen quite often. The limited focus is something that I kind of regret. There were a lot of wonderful friendships and acquaintances and close friends that I spent a lot of time with. We really had some enjoyable times, and they didn't really appear in the video, but especially the last 2/3 were more compact. And I kind of regretted not being able to get all these wonderful people in. And if you notice yourself missing, which can happen, the reason is we didn't have enough time and we didn't do it quite perfect. But it would have been forever, you know, if we had tried to include everybody. And forever is probably too long for a video of this type. Over the time, more recently, since the video was finished up, my daughter Karen lost her son tragically, 23 years old, Mish. We miss him so much. And one of my very best friends, who appears in chapter 10, Dorothy Englehart, she passed away at 73 years old. It's quite a shock to me, and tears kind of flooded my kitchen table when I first found out. I learned a lot about my life and my life patterns during the memoirs. I found out that I was really interested in leadership, that I was always wanting to take things to a national level, the ability to network, and the absolute avoidance of all conflict. And many times I trusted people and trusted them totally, 100%. And that led to quite a bit of financial devastation. So Rickety Bill sometimes doesn't have enough jingle because of some of the wonderful mistakes he's made. Taking things to a national level was really something that I enjoyed, like tournament golf. I played in some major tournaments, visited the Masters. Didn't play in the Masters, of course, but visited there, and played, though, in the Western Amateur and qualifications to the United States Open. And you can see the national aspect of that. In Feng Shui, I went to the national conventions. I wrote articles for the national magazine. In planning, I gave lectures in other states, or multiple state lectures in urban planning, particularly at Notre Dame and also University of Illinois. I lectured not just on urban planning, but also on geography, my very, very favorite topic. So I took that to the national level as well. The Tibetan Cultural Center kind of took that to the national level too, and visited Michigan and other places, Ohio, with my close friend Norbu, my teacher, Dalai Lama's brother, and that was really exciting on a national level. The different kinds of writing that I've done, published several times nationally. I really enjoyed that, particularly in some of the peace activism, and that was published by the New York Times and also throughout Europe. The most enjoyable experiences that I ever had were probably my happy places. And, what's a happy place? It would be a place like Williams Creek that I grew up along and enjoyed fishing and walking along the creek and creek walking. And this is a great place for a youngster. This is where I got my interest in zoology and biology so much. Also, the Tibetan Cultural Center was another happy place. Really enjoyed the giant mother oak tree there at the Tibetan Center. Kind of sit near that tree and look at the majesty of their grounds. Another place at Stell, the garden, had another great big tree. I could sit under the tree and look at the gardens that we'd been working with all day and listen to the pheasants as they were cackling in the early evening and getting their little pebbles for grit. And then a pheasant or two would fly over my head, not realizing I was there. And I could expect that kind of wonderful, happy place. The backyard here with the Doris has helped to create so much is another wonderful, happy place for me. And those things are some of the very best experiences. When I talk about where I enjoyed living the most, it probably was in Wisconsin, up at the Sand County farm that we had. Very remote, but very, very beautiful, and the wildlife there was just incredible. And Rickety Bill is a wildlife friend. He enjoys our wildlife that we always give names, the chipmunks, the Chippendale, and the local snake called Gardy. And we've got groundhogs, George and his offspring. And we just enjoy naming all the different critters that enjoy a happy life here with us. Even the beach there at Paintown and the picnic grounds, look out on Lake Monroe. And think about the time I used to sail. I often sailed with Dorothy Englehart, who had lost recently. And that was really great. It looked often like we knew what we were doing. And billowing sails and going way too fast. You'd think we were real pros. Quite the contrary. And we were very lucky there wasn't something in our way. The other experiences that I had that I really appreciate so much were in my employment, particularly Butler University was a great place to teach. Students were very attentive and very advanced. Rickety Bill says he talks too much, which is, I hear that echo from my wife quite often. However, in this case, at Butler, the students would sit in their seats and they wouldn't hardly move. They'd be kind of threatened there. And they would get, they would have to take notes, and then they'd take an exam, and then they would leave. If we didn't have the exam and the notes and everything they'd probably scram because, Rickety Bill was, he's a good talker. And really, I think I enjoyed teaching so much because I was in charge and I could talk and they can't. That was really a total joy. My Christian life was always very important to me. We went to Sherwood Oaks, Doris and I, after getting married, really enjoyed that wonderful pastor there. And when he retired, we found Cornerstone Fellowship. David Woodington is a wonderful pastor. He speaks a little bit like I like to do, out of context orientation. And then he brings in a little bit of the Bible and makes it all put together. Uses the Bible kind of like glue to put his thoughts together. And we really like that. The modern music, the diversified congregation, different ages, the fact that Cornerstone serves so much of the community. They're always doing service projects internationally and also locally. And that's what I like. I call it progressive Christianity because it's reaching out to other individuals and spreading the love of Jesus and the love of Christ to the community through service or selfless service. So that's very, very important to me. Some of the homes that I've really enjoyed, of course, this home with Doris, and Doris has done so much inside. The feng shui of this home is really pretty ideal. We got a lot of stuff in every room, but as long as the stuff is balanced throughout the house, it becomes pretty good feng shui. And we made a few adjustments, put a mirror behind the stove to get a little bit of extra feng shui energy, a crystal close to the front door. We've done a little feng shui here, a little feng shui there, keeping the middle of rooms open. Feng shui is about energy, and the energy of this house is awesome. Doris and I said many times, maybe we should get a place in the country or a bigger home. But as soon as we did that, we miss our cozy comfort here. And people need to, at this older age, they need to be close to their stuff. I always told Doris that having so much stuff, bookcases and everything along the walls, was our way of having extra insulation. So we would keep cool in the summertime and warm in the winter. And it was all the stuff in the cabinets that made the big difference. Another home that I enjoyed so much, again in Wisconsin, and also some of the Brown County homes that I've had. And Brown County is a really wonderful place. I can kind of smell hickory when I came down into the valley at night after teaching in the evening in Columbus or Indianapolis. And to me, the welcoming of Brown County was the smell of that hickory wood smoke. And I knew I was getting back to the wonderful place that I enjoyed so much. I remember, too, in the video we talk about Needmore, and Needmore was a community of very interesting souls, and many people have gone on to great careers. It was kind of an experiential time during everybody's life. We were homesteaders. We had goats and chickens and rabbits and just everything you could think of, and lived off the grid for a year and a half. And that bothered everybody else but us. We really enjoyed living off the grid. It was kind of hard grading papers by Aladdin the lamp, however. And we had our privy out there. We had all the enjoyments of home. We had hot water. Of course, we had to boil it on or cook it on the stove first, the wood stove. We had an ice box, literally an ice box with big blocks of ice in it. And we were just in dandy shape, and we loved it. And this is something that everybody should experience because, frankly, it sometimes looks like poverty, though. When your kids are eating racehorse toast that you got at the feed mill, you kind of wonder, whether you're treating them right. We would bring them some toys, a box to play with, or maybe some pans or something from the woods. And it didn't quite look like something you'd find at Target or one of the big box stores. It looked like something you'd find, in the back of the barn. And the kids still had a great time, and we shared everything too. We would get toys and other kinds of items for everybody at once. And we had the birthday bear. They would come and give presents to everybody that had birthday wishes for the person that really had the birthday. And when the stockings were up by the chimney with the care, it was a real chimney and a real wood stove. And to be careful we didn't set the stockings on fire. And they got the goodies of the forest, and they had their oranges and popcorn and just everything simple. So simple the kids probably felt at times like they had missed the train, the train to modernity, because we were living the simple life, which in many ways isn't so simple. And actually, I had an article in Branches Magazine, that was the title. And really, living the simple life is exciting and wonderful if you're deep into it, but it really turns off guests. They just don't quite want to use the privy or try to read by lamplight. Now, the places away from Indiana that I liked the best, besides Wisconsin, were Twin Oaks in Virginia, and I love the path to Morningstar back and forth, and I think about that path a lot as a kind of a happy place. Twin Oaks was a wonderful community of about 80 people, very similar values, very much like the Israeli kibbutz, and I enjoyed that so much. It was one of my very favorite years of my lifetime. And then after Twin Oaks, for a little while, went to the Caribbean and enjoyed the Caribbean so much. But my big adventure overseas was to the Netherlands and then to Africa. Africa? Oh my goodness. Yep, Rickety Bill actually went to Africa. Maybe that's why he's got some of these Rickety Bill traits, later in life. But the place I liked the best was Ngorongoro, big crater about 7 miles wide. It's actually a collapsed volcanic dome filled with wildlife, filled with Maasai tribes people that live down in the crater. And it was like walking into a petting zoo where you really couldn't pet the rhinos. You couldn't pet the lions, but you could get pretty close. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Ngorongoro in Africa, and Victoria Falls too. I stood on the opposite side of Victoria Falls and felt that mist coming across the largest waterfall in all of Africa, about twice as high as Niagara Falls. Beautiful place on the Zambezi River. And we actually took a helicopter ride up and down the Zambezi and saw all the hippos in the water and looked like logs there along the shoreline. They were crocodiles. So I'm sure I'm glad that helicopter could fly. Life has been good, and I really appreciate everything that Jeff Foster's done to help make this video. The technology is way beyond Rickety Bill, and that's very important. The video is not perfect, but it's perfect in terms of the events that kind of stood out. The highlights. It's more of the highlight of the 13 chapters. And I certainly recommend people doing memoirs. You learn a lot about yourself that way, and you can preserve some good photographs for the future and context. We were trying to put photographs, of course, right with the correct audio. And that's really going to be nice for my grandkids and great-grandkids to take a look at that over time. So that's really the story of this memoir effort. It's not the perfect effort, but who does perfect anymore? So I really enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy it too.